So what happens when you take The Rock, Deadpool, Wonder Woman, The Fast and the Furious, Ocean's 11, National Treasure, a hint of James Bond, and a dash of Raiders of the Lost Ark, then throw them together into a blender? Well, tune in to find out on this express episode of Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat. Hello and welcome to this express episode of Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat, PBDC TV's place for a fun discussion of horror movies. I'm your host, Steve the Cat. Tonight, we're going to step away from the horror genre for just a bit to talk about Netflix's new action film, Red Notice. Red Notice is a new action-adventure heist movie from Netflix that takes a federal agent and two competing art thieves and throws them into an adrenaline-packed adventure that manages to touch just about every corner of the globe. The film stars Ryan Reynolds as a wisecracking art thief, Gal Gadot as a mysterious art thief competing with him for the same score, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as an FBI behavioral profiler tasked to track them down. The two thieves are after three priceless items of treasure that once belonged to Cleopatra herself, and of course are scattered all over the globe. This recipe of beautiful people, beautiful places, and priceless treasure comes together to produce an action-packed adventure featuring car chases, free-running stunts, gun battles, explosions, unlikely alliances, double crosses, and witty banter that cuts a path from the museums of Rome to the beaches of tropical islands to the frozen wastelands of Russia to the fortress mansion of an international arms dealer to the jungles of South America and finally to the Great Pyramids of Egypt. So bottom line up front, this is a completely formulaic action-adventure film that does not have even a hint of originality, and yet I really enjoyed it anyway. The cast is very familiar and the story is incredibly derivative. Basically, it combines the Ocean's 11 franchise with the Fast and Furious franchise, with elements of the National Treasure, James Bond, and Indiana Jones franchises thrown in to round out the mixture. In this case, though, the familiarity is not actually a bad thing. Yes, the cast is familiar, but that's because people like them and enjoy watching them. Similarly, even though the story is derivative, it's drawing on elements from past franchises that people have really enjoyed, so what you end up with is something entirely unoriginal that I enjoyed much more than I expected. The cast and the director managed to inject a lot of life into the film, and instead of watching what feels like a lifeless carbon copy of better films, you get something that's more like watching a live performance of your favorite band. You've heard it all before, or at least most of it, but it's still vibrant and energetic and enjoyable. Normally we would start out with a quick film summary, but we've already covered everything you need to know. Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot are high-class art thieves competing to steal three priceless items that once belonged to Cleopatra, while Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is an FBI behavioral analyst on assignment to assist Interpol in catching the thieves. From there, it's like a roller coaster. You just need to strap in and hold on. So let's go straight to the things I liked about the film. Number one, the cast is very good, very likable, and very enjoyable. Now, in fairness, none of them really stretched their acting chops for this film. The Rock plays the same guy he always plays. Basically, it feels like they lifted his character straight out of Fast and Furious Part 8 and dropped him right into this film. Ryan Reynolds plays the same guy he always plays, the wisecracking Eddie Haskell type, and it feels a bit like they pulled his character straight out of Hobbs and Shaw and dropped him into this film right next to The Rock without ever missing a beat. The only one who stretches it all is Gal Gadot, who plays a mysterious, scheming femme fatale known as the Bishop. The chemistry between the three is excellent, and even though they're not breaking any new ground, it's still an enjoyable film. It's like spending a fun evening with three old friends. Number two, the film keeps the story going and the action moving. There are intermittent breaks in the action where you get to enjoy the chemistry between the three leads, but the film never sits still for very long. You get every kind of action sequence imaginable. You get fistfights, free-running stunts, car chases, gun battles, explosions, slow-motion leaps into a helicopter, and even the stereotypical jump from the top of a tall waterfall to the raging waters below. There's a lot of action, but the director treats it with a light touch and the film never takes itself too seriously. The film is rated TV-14, so it's reasonably friendly for teens. There's no sex or nudity, and even though there's a lot of gunfire, it has a kind of Star Wars quality where, the bullets are flying but no one is actually getting shot. If you're a fan of the Fast and Furious series or similar kinds of films, you should enjoy this one. Number 3, the film manages to inject a lot of humor into both the action sequences and the breaks in between. Now, personally, I sometimes find Ryan Reynolds' wisecracking shtick tiresome, but this time around I enjoyed the chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and The Rock. There were a number of scenes in the film where I could see where things were going, but I was surprised to find myself laughing anyway. Overall, the film has a comedic flavor similar to the Ocean's 11 franchise. It's not uproariously funny at any particular point, but it's witty and enjoyable throughout. Number 4, the film looks really good on a big screen. The colors are crisp and vibrant. There's a lot of action, and the film manages to showcase a lot of beautiful locations. It's a bit like a James Bond film in that it jumps from place to place all over the globe, taking you to a lot of different exotic locations. Now that we've discussed the things I liked about the film, let's get into some of the things that I thought could have been better. So, number 1, right off the bat, the film is very, very derivative and does not have even the slightest bit of originality to it. As I said earlier, Red Notice is basically a greatest hits mixtape that combines elements of the Fast and Furious franchise and the Ocean's 11 franchise, with bits of the National Treasure films, the James Bond films, and the Indiana Jones franchise worked in around the edges. Either you like that sort of thing or you don't. If you're a fan of the Fast and Furious series, you'll probably enjoy Red Notice. If you're not a fan of Fast and Furious style films, then there's a pretty good chance you won't care for this one either. Number 2, the film does not have a lot of substance or weight to it. It's a fun film, but not really a substantial one. You're not going to get a lot of emotion out of this film. It doesn't delve into any serious issues. It doesn't present you with any significant moral dilemmas, and it's not going to make you think deep thoughts. It's lightweight, and it's entirely an exercise in entertainment. The filmmakers did not set out to make something with artistic gravitas. They set out to make something fun to watch, and they deliver on that. Again, either you will like that sort of thing, or you won't. Now, some critics are probably going to mock the film as lightweight and vacuous and lacking in any kind of artistic merit, and they'll wring their hands and tut-tut and look down their noses at the poor misguided creatures who just don't know better than to watch that sort of thing. Now, in my case, I think there is value in making purely escapist entertainment as long as you make it clear right up front that that's what you're offering, and in this case, I think the filmmakers were pretty honest in that regard. If you're okay with escapist entertainment, you'll enjoy the film. If you need something more substantial, then you probably should look elsewhere. Number 3, it's a heist film, so there will be a lot of twists and turns. If you're familiar with the Ocean's 11 franchise, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. From start to finish, the film is chock full of partnerships of convenience, betrayal, redemption, bluffs, double bluffs, confidence schemes, sleight of hand, and shocking revelations. If you enjoy that sort of thing, you'll be fine, but some people may find it tiresome after a while. Number 4, although I was mostly happy with the cinematography and the overall appearance of the film, there are some bits that were done with digital special effects that aren't bad but also aren't very convincing. It wasn't enough to make me dislike the film, but it did make it harder to immerse myself fully in the film. In the grand scheme of things, that's less of a criticism and more of a simple concession to budgetary reality, but it's something to be aware of going in. And number 5, as in the case with the Fast and Furious films, the story is completely ridiculous. I mean, completely ludicrous, and either you can accept that going in, or you can't. If you are willing to just check your brain at the door and suspend disbelief for a couple of hours, you will be fine, but if that's not your sort of thing, you should probably give this one a pass. So, in summary, Red Notice is a fun piece of escapist entertainment that gives you a likable cast, lots of action, a good bit of humor, and a lightweight feel that isn't weighted down by things like moral dilemmas and social issues. It combines the fun of the Fast and Furious and Ocean's 11 franchises It keeps the story moving, and it never takes itself too seriously. Now, as is always the case, your enjoyment is going to come down to your expectations going into the film. If you are in the mood for something with action, comedy, and fun that doesn't take itself too seriously, then you should enjoy this film. On the other hand, if you're not into lightweight action buddy comedy heist films, you'll want to give this one a pass. Now, a bit of my personal history on this kind of film. For me, I avoided the Fast and Furious franchise for a long time because I thought it looked silly. Finally, I sat down and watched the first movie. Ironically watched it, making jokes about the film. Then I watched the second film, again ironically. By the time I got around to ironically watching the fourth film in the series, I had to admit that I was no longer watching them ironically. I actually enjoyed them. Sure, the stories were somewhere between ridiculous and nonsensical, the action was completely implausible, and the films did not take themselves even a little bit seriously. But if you were able to get on board with that and view the films as a thrill ride instead of a piece of theater, then they could be a lot of fun. Red Notice falls squarely into that category. It's not art, it's a theme park ride. It's exciting, it's funny, and it feels like spending a couple of hours at Disney or Universal with a group of old friends. Now, if that's not your cup of tea, then you should look elsewhere. Something like Squid Game on Netflix has a lot more substance to it and might be more your speed. But if you enjoy the occasional lightweight piece of action-adventure buddy heist fluff, you'll probably find Red Notice very enjoyable. Anyway, I would give it somewhere between 2.5 and 3 paws out of 4 if you judge it purely as a piece of action-adventure escapist entertainment. Your mileage, of course, may vary. Well, that's all for this express episode of Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy the show, please give us a like and a share. Then maybe head on over to Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat to subscribe and check out some of our other videos. You can find us on YouTube and on Rumble and on Facebook. And yes, that's Tales spelled with an A-I-L-S. Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat is your place for a fun discussion of horror movies, and we're available exclusively through PBDC TV, your nightly heartbeat of horror. Whether you're interested in horror movies, true crime, unexplained events, or weird history, we're sure to have something for you on PBDC TV. You can visit us at pbdctv.com and on YouTube at Psycho Bunny DC. You also can check us out on Facebook at PBDC TV, or go directly to dedicated pages for our different channels, such as Psycho Bunny Death Cult, Psychomantium 13, or Roots Bleed Red. Each channel has a slightly different atmosphere, but they're all a part of the PBDC TV broadcast collective. Well, that's all for now. Thank you once again for joining us, and remember, new episodes of Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat premiere every Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern with a live watch party over on Facebook, so we hope to see you then. In the meantime, I hope everyone stays safe and has a great week. Bye-bye, everybody.
This is Mikey from Out of the Ordinary, and you're watching PBDC TV.
First thing in the morning, when I'm listening to music and getting a little bit of time for some creepy research, I'm always representing with my PBDC merch. What a better way to have a cup of coffee in the morning.
Don't forget to check out our other cool merch at rootsbleedred.com. That's rootsbleedred.com.
This is Professor Edgar Fluffosaurus from Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat, and when I'm not hosting Monster Chat or knocking down small Japanese cities, I'm watching PBDC TV. Now back to the show.